If you like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.
Derrick, welcome to Metal Express, and first of all, congratulations with a great album. You must be really happy with this one.
I'm extremely happy. It's been 2 years that we've been working on the album, and it was a really strong concept that really influenced us a lot. I mean, it's exciting for us to be on tour now with the album actually coming out. So we're all really happy.
Can you explain the title of the album?
The title of the album is Dante XXI, and it's referring to Dante Alighieri, the Italian author who wrote the work that we're actually doing the album on is the Divine Comedy, and we're doing an actual soundtrack for the book. But we're doing a version of our own version of our interpretation of certain areas of the book that are similar to what's happening now today in the 21st century. So the title came to that, Dante XXI, doing an updated version of the story, The Divine Comedy.
And as far as I understand, you came up with the idea and doing this?
Right, I read the book while I was in high school. It wasn't a book that was part of the curriculum as far as reading, but I was always into a lot of mythology and religion as far as the stories. And I thought we could do a lot of stuff from this book. There were a lot of things that it was filled with so many different ideas that we could work from. So it was such a major influence in the writing process and also with the artwork, and we combined everything together into making a type of soundtrack for the book.
As far as I understand, this is a band effort, but when it comes to the lyrics, I mean, you brought up the idea. You read this book and you also sing the lyrics. Did you write the lyrics as well?
Yes, I wrote the lyrics with Andreas. Together we would combine sometimes on certain songs. There's some songs we already had an idea ourselves in writing, or thinking of certain topics that are very similar. There's Dante is walking through hell and purgatory and paradise, and so through hell he's witnessing a lot of people from his past, people from history, famous people from history that are being tortured in hell, and people that there were his enemies at that time. He also wrote them in hell, and these people are in there suffering these different tortures for whatever thing they did on earth. There are a lot of religious leaders that are abusing their power, so they're written to a certain part of hell. People, false liars, and so they have a type of suffering going on for them. And so I tried to think of different things that are happening today that reminded me of these certain leaders that were being tortured back in his time period. And it was pretty easy considering there's so many of the same type of leaders that are abusing their power and using religion or even their military status in order to control or to gain power. And so, I mean, it was easy to think of people like Bush or Dick Cheney or the entire Bush administration as this type of organization or crew that are abusing a lot of Americans, abusing a lot of people in the world itself, but mostly Americans, young kids, and just the people themselves, and using it to further their own gains. So that was like one example of the lyrics of writing of these type of political people.
Musically, is there a big difference writing a regular album and a concept album?
Definitely, because we're really going on the vibe of the book, which is like a classic book. And so we wanted to use classic instruments to kind of create this vibe. And we're shooting in a direction of a soundtrack. So from talking about certain areas of hell or certain things, we envisioned certain sounds of what it would sound like. So the first 5 songs are very brutal on the album, very dark and very sinister for the fact that we were talking so much about it, and we wanted to really create that vibe. We've worked on a lot of films in Brazil as far as doing soundtracks and scores, creating a vibe for a certain scene. But we had our own visual scene in our own mind, so it became a little more interesting, I think, than working in somebody else's film. And so for even like Purgatory, we imagined it more orchestra stuff, more things going on as far as like crossing the river Styx and things like that, and visualizing, this mystical, climb that Dante had to go up Mount Purgatory, and these things came into play, and just thinking about certain soundtracks that we like I love the Taxi Driver soundtrack because there's no strings on it, it's only horns and brass section to show the strength from this character Travis Bickle, the main character, Robert De Niro's character. And I watched and read a lot of books about why they chose certain things for soundtracks or sounds for different movies. And so we just tried to apply all those ideas to the album as well and create this journey. So when you listen to it from the very beginning to the end, you feel like you've gone through some type of crazy journey.
You have some guest musicians on the album, also some brass, as you mentioned. Right. Did you write all this music yourselves, or?
No, we had a person that we work with in Brazil named Andre Moraes, who we work on many films with him. And so we brought him in for that aspect of the album. Once we were done writing all the music, we sat and talked with him and explained the whole concept and explained there's certain parts, there was space that we had where we could have an orchestra. And he wrote like a lot of this stuff to go in these certain parts, but he took a lot of the ideas from the parts that are already written. So a lot of the orchestra stuff was played like a guitar or like a certain riff.
When you're playing tracks from the new album on stage, do you just pick your favorites, or do you think that you'll kind of give the story to the audience, that you have to pick certain tracks to explain what's going on?
I think for this first tour, since we wanted to just actually get out and play. We're just picking random songs, and I think when we come back on a headlining tour, then it's something that we can think of more of creating a story, or even maybe playing the album from beginning to end. But right now, it's just nobody really has it, so it's kind of hard to really to work out a story. And plus, we want to play a lot of the older classic stuff mixed with the new stuff and create sort of like a really powerful set list. But we definitely want to use a lot of the songs from Hell, for example. They're more upbeat tempo songs, and we'll be playing a lot of those tonight.
Do you think that the band has changed since, the beginning, before you joined? Sepultura was very political. Has that changed?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things that have changed. I think the world around us has changed. I think the whole music industry has definitely changed. There's CDs now. When they first started, there was like vinyl and tape, and there weren't as many bands, and there was just, the whole heavy music scene wasn't as big as it is now. I think since I joined the band, there were a lot of changes going on within ourselves, just growing up. We're not really kids anymore, and we all had our experiences, and also another person added to the band from a different culture, a different perspective of looking at things. But I live in Brazil now for the past 5 years, and I think I can see a lot of things that they, being Brazilian, see going out in the world. And it definitely adds to the music, because that's what we write about, a lot of what we see and what we experience and what we read and people that we talk to all over. So yeah, I think it's always constantly changing. For us, it's important to have some type of change, or we're not evolving anymore, and we're not really artists anymore. We just end up dying in the past with a lot of other stuff that does happen to them, unfortunately.
Does that mean you feel like you're growing all the time for each release, both as a band and also as individual musicians?
Definitely, I think so. When I look back at the first album we did, I definitely see an evolution. I see it going in an upward direction, and that was something that we all wanted to happen, and we knew it would take time, just for the fact that there was already a combination already happening, and then broken up, and then sort of kind of starting from scratch again. And I think we definitely feel that we have grown, because we're able to to use different orchestra, different instruments, and involve it in our music now that a lot of bands wouldn't take that chance to do.
Did you enjoy what you were doing on this album? Will you be making another concept album in the future, you think?
I don't know. I think we'll probably try to do something different if we, write another album. I loved working on this album just because I learned so much about myself. I think we all did. We all really had a sense of of connecting with the character and connecting. I mean, Dante was the main character, but I mean, connecting where he came from. I mean, he was an outcast. He lived his life in exile, you know, from a place that he loved, and he was, you know, he kept to his ideas of really being an artist outside of all what was going on in his personal life. He stayed true to being an artist under like horrendous circumstances, and you know, it's admirable, you know, that he took on this fight, you know, of dealing with himself and being able to project it in a very positive way in his literature.
Well, this was a track from the new Sepultura album, Dark Wood of Error. This is the opening track after the intro.
Right. It's very important because the intro itself is this. We sort of had this idea of Dante in his mind, or a person's mind in general, when they're confused or they have no idea where to go in life, sort of like a midlife crisis. And it's sort of thoughts and weird, like kind of bad thoughts, negative thoughts going through a person's head. It's like, what am I going to do? Where am I at? And we wanted to create that vibe. And Darkwood of Air is the very beginning of actually the book, but it's a metaphor for like life itself, the world, and being lost in a forest. And he's sort of lost, and we wanted to create that vibe. So that song is primarily just admitting to having a type of fear and acknowledging it. And Convicted in Life is the song right after it. We have everything connected because that's how we felt. We wanted everything to be that way as far as like traveling in the circles. Convicted in Life comes right after, sort of acknowledging all the things that may be wrong in your life and accepting them. You know, if a person has a bad trait or a bad quality about themselves, to wanting to understand that you have to approach it, you can't be afraid of it. And so it's just taking blame for your faults or anything like that and accepting it. So those two songs are important and connected together because it's sort of a self-realization, you know, knowing that you have to deal with some really rough stuff in your life.
So that's the second track on the album. And then the next track you picked out is Fighting On.
Fighting On is primarily the last area of hell Dante's climbing out. And the vibe there was the fact that going through a lot of hell and fighting on and being able to continue on and having this this strength, you know, sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel, sort of like going for that, you know, after going through so much where it felt like, you know, just complete darkness, but it's something like a aspiration for hope, you know, and I think a lot of people have that. They fight on every day in their everyday lives, so that song is, you know, related to that struggle that people have.
And then we move to the second part of the album, and after the second intro, we have the track Ostia.
So Ostia is when actually Dante is leaving. He's going towards Mount Purgatory with a lot of different souls, and it's like an old seaport in Italy. It was, and basically, it's like we wanted to create like a feeling that, you know, acknowledgement of like, yes, you know, there's a lot of things that have happened, bad things that have happened, but there's still a lot more work of really going towards yourself to really improve yourself, really to acknowledge things around you as well. So this song is like it's more of a fighting on, but more of like a mid-tempo song, which really describes like the everyday, day-to-day grind of like going through and just still that admiration of wanting to move on for something better.
Then another kick-ass track of the new Sepultura album, Dante XXI. This is Buried Words.
Buried Words is a song that I wrote about certain victims that have had this struggle of having the courage to actually talk about the Catholic Church and priests that were abusing them during their childhood, and that was happening while we were writing the album. I just thought it was amazing that the church was hiding these people, and I like thought it was like courageous that these people who buried these words for many, many years have families now, and then they want to come out and talk about like what the church, these people representing the church did to them. And it was a very powerful, emotional song just for that fact that I think it takes a lot of courage for some, especially like men, to really come out and admit to, somebody molesting them, for anybody being molested. So I just thought, I wanted to write a song about, from a victim's point of view of all these people preaching all these positive things in the church, and then they go around and they're completely false, like type of people. So.
We'll end this before everybody runs out to buy your new album with the last track of the album. It's called Still Flame.
Still Flame, we wanted to really represent our idea of a paradise on earth. There really isn't too much of a paradise on earth. That's why there's only one song representing paradise. Our idea of like where people aren't killing each other is the Olympics, where it's all these different nations, different cultures, really having an admiration for their ability as humanity, being able to achieve certain goals, and I don't really see anybody losers in the Olympics. I think it takes a lot of dedication, and it's great that everyone has this respect no matter what color or race or culture they're coming from. But it's a flame, that torch that they always run with, and it's just like an admiration. It's showing like like the flame of humanity burning, strong, but it's sort of a steel flame for us, because we feel there's so much more to go and progress in the future for more of a paradise. And it's sort of flame not moving. It's there burning, but it needs to move forward. So that's why we have the title Steel Flame. But that song we wanted to make completely different from all the other ones. As far as not being so metal or anything, we wanted to create like this atmosphere of a paradise.
If you like the content we bring you about the heavy metal world, please like, subscribe, and comment to help us grow the channel.